Hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to ADEX Pixel Virtual Expo. And for this session today, in conversation with David Strait, we have here Beatrice Rivoira with us to talk a little bit about critters, caves, and also CCRs. Let me just start this session by introducing David Strait. David is an ADEX ambassador for technical diving, pioneer, and fellow of the Explorers Club. He has a background of in military, commercial, recreational, and technical diving. And David Strait is a regular speaker and presenter at regional and also international diving events. A former field editor for Asian Diver magazine who has authored several hundred articles about diving and organized several world-class technical diving events. He is, of course, the recipient of the ADEX Lifetime Achievement Award for contribution to technical diving and also a fellow of the Explorers Club of New York. Moving along, I would like to also introduce Beatrice Rivoira from Italy. So Beatrice is actually an Italian vocational diver with a master's degree in marine biology and oceanography. With 20 years of diving experience, she has worked around the world as a CCR and also OC instructor and participated in biological and archaeological underwater projects. From 2013, she has joined Zero Emissions, with which she continues to teach and educate, as well as training herself in different environments. She also co-authored the book Biodiving, translated and also contributed to several other diving texts. Her hope is to inspire more and more young people to protect and also discover the natural beauties of our underwater world. Here, without further ado, let me just hand over this session to David Strait. David, over to you.
Nora, thank you. And Beatrice, it is so lovely to catch up with you again after, 2 years since we last sort of met up at ADEX in Singapore.
It is too long, David, too long.
It is indeed, but never mind. Now, Beatrice, that was a wonderful introduction that Nora gave. But let me just start off with diving, and this is what it's about. What got you into diving? I know that your father and your brother were very involved in diving, weren't they?
Yeah, actually, they were a lot. And the nice thing is that my father was a diver even when he was young, when there were no diving certifications or any sort of these things. So he was just having fun with his friend and discovering the underwater world and, just experimenting with the underwater world.
Right.
And then he stopped because with 2 kids, it was something like a dangerous activity. And then my brother, when he was growing up, decided to start diving. And of course, he could not leave the boy alone. So he had to restart. And as a younger sister, I was already in outdoor activities, and they loved the sea and the animals, anything. And I just wanted to try. So, but my mom said it was too early to start. And so at the very beginning, when they were diving, they were coming out for the safety stops. I was just taking my mask and diving under, going towards them, and they were giving me their second regulator. So that was actually my very first dive. So the safety
really? Yeah. That's the sort of thing as an instructor you'd encourage everyone to do. Of course not.
I never said so.
Whereabout? This was obviously off. Whereabouts off the coast was this? Which into the Mediterranean, or?
Yeah. It was in the Mediterranean and towards Liguria, which is one of the places I grew up in, and so it was, always a nice location as well, and it was with the family and everything. It was just a really nice way to approach it. But after that, they refused to teach me. So I went to with an actual instructor to start my diving career, but the very first try was with them.
Really? And who did you actually learn with?
I learned with Giuseppe Marini, who
Yeah.
is now an old friend of us, and he was an instructor here in Turin, who was working in Elba Island as well. So I started diving during the winter, and then during the summer I was going to Elba and just helping with the diving center and just learning and learning and learning. It was I just couldn't stop after I started.
Is that
And
what
I'm
started?
so
Because
happy.
you went on to university and did a degree in marine biology and oceanography. Is that what sort of triggered the desire to study marine biology?
Yeah, yeah, as usually you get a lot of marine biologists to do the other way around. So they start studying marine biology and then they start diving. For me, it was honestly total the opposite. So
Yeah.
I was diving at that point, I had been diving for a few years already. And I was anyway interested in critters and all the environments, and I wanted to know more. So I was studying by myself and then said, why not doing it on at a professional level? And
Yeah.
so it happened.
You said as well, we spoke earlier, um, the first book that you read on diving was
Yeah.
Bernie
Absolutely.
Chowdhury's The Last Dive. It's a remarkable book to stimulate interest in diving. Is that what it did for you?
Yeah, it is. When I found that book, I was, I think, a rescue diver, maybe something
Right.
around that. And I found it in a very old bookshop here, in one of those shelves, like towards the ground, forgotten by everyone. And I was just so happy because I was looking for it. And it was something that just opened my mind because it changed my way of approaching some kind of dives, both from the safety point of view, from the training point of view, but also from the um, historical point of view, because I started to get more and more interested in the history and everything that was around some dive sites. And I started, I think I was at high school, and I started to look on internet for the very first podcast. And so on my old hard disk, I still have some interview with Richie and John when my English was not even that good, and I was listening to them over and over again, trying to understand what they were saying.
Really?
Yeah.
Ah, that's and that interest in history. I mean, coming from Italy and the regard that I have, for example, for the Decimus divers during World War II. It's the most remarkable sort of area of the world to learn about diving.
It is. It is, and there is a lot of tradition and nice. It's not only a lot of history, but a lot of stories. You
Yeah.
still can find people around that had amazing experience in different times with different kind of techniques and equipment. And when you find them and talk with them, you could just stay there and listen to them every day for the
Yeah.
whole day because it's
Did you
such a
manage to
work.
talk to any of the Decimus divers? Meet any of those?
Unfortunately not, but there was, I told you there was a time when I was doing the selections for the Navy.
Yeah.
And so during that time, I was trying to talk with everyone I know and trying to understand more about the history and the school, how it was developing and what they were doing. And I had the chance to join uh, like um, a few talks about these kind of topics, and the images and story that were coming up were amazing, really, really amazing.
Yeah.
So sometimes they were not first-hand witnesses, but like the son or the daughter, the nephew, and it was still so nice to
The
listen to them.
stories passed down through the family. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's something that I really wish could keep going, because we are missing so much otherwise. There are amazing
Yes.
stories. Even when you have some new research for Rex, or if you find something, you start looking around the details and all the data that you collect. We are reaching the point where if we don't hurry up, we are losing the witnesses now,
Yeah.
because of the time. So it's something that I wish could be, that people could really share a lot of their stories and let them being passed with
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. But just stepping back to the marine biology, what aspects of marine biology appeal to you most? Just all of it, or were there particular sort of creatures that sort of captured your imagination?
I would lie saying that there is something in particular that interests me, because for me it's the whole thing, how
Right.
everything works together. But I was a little bit more interested, that's true, in the deeper zones, deeper area, and the kind of creatures over there, and especially with cephalopods. So it's something that because I just like them. They are so amazing, such amazing creatures, and they can learn so fast and so much. It's mind blowing,
This is
and
the
they look like
octopus, the
targets.
squid, and the cuttlefish.
The squishy
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. The squishy things.
Yeah, they are just amazing for me. They're what they can do with their mantles, and how they can behave, how they can learn, how they can adapt to
Yeah.
different places. It's just mesmerizing. And the more we explore the depths of the oceans, the more we find about them and other kind of creatures that all looks like aliens to us. And it's just fascinating, because
What?
there's so much that we still don't know.
Yeah. When you were doing that your marine biology course, you were diving at the same time. So the two, there was obviously a nice sort of marriage there between the diving and the studies.
There was, but not as enhanced as you may think, because for many colleagues, they had just started diving, or they didn't know at all how to do it. So
Right.
we had at the very beginning, it's basically a whole theory. Then you start to have some classes with labs that could be on the field. So, and some of these classes, you can decide to do them or not doing them, depending on what you're interested in. And I honestly pick up all those classes with diving activities included, of course. And at that point, we dived a lot. We had a lot of different experience. Because they taught us how to collect the data, different methods of doing it through the visual senses, or with the transect, or taking samples, using the what some I sometimes we define that like a vacuum cleaner,
Yep.
when you just uh, sucks up
Suck up.
everything.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so we just try different methods of collecting data, and we did it for the vegetable, sorry, for the algae. We did it for the creatures. We did it for the kind of substrate. We did it for everything. And then there were um, some university studies that were going on. So we
Right.
went in different regions, in different areas, taking samples. And one of these trips was in Indonesia, and that was mind-blowing, a really amazing experience.
This was while you were studying. This was
Yeah.
part of your student course.
Yes,
Wow.
it was not part of a particular class, so
Yeah.
there was some sort of selection during because the spots were limited, of course, for this kind of activity. So you were bringing your diving experience, your university score, the kind of studies that you were doing, and they were selecting people.
Yeah.
And so I was lucky enough to be selected for this one, and the experience was mind blowing.
How
So
long
I'd
did you
never been
spend
in
there?
Indonesia before.
How long did you spend there in Indonesia?
A couple of weeks.
Right.
So it was really, really amazing.
Yeah.
We were in Banca Island, and there is a research center over there that is, it's a collaboration with our university. And it was so nice because the whole day was dedicated to diving, to collecting data and in different areas, but also just in front of the island. So you were just waking up, having breakfast, picking up your diving gear, and go work just off the beach.
Hello. Where else did you were you diving while you were studying?
We did another kind of study in the Strait of Messina,
Right.
so between Sicily and the rest of Italy.
Yeah.
And that's another area that is really nice because of the currents and everything. The fauna um, is is wonderful because there are a lot of nutrients, and it's just so alive and it's growing so well. And you had these huge walls going down, and we did a night dive where it was like a drift dive. So we were just staying in the current and just sliding across these huge walls that were completely covered with gorgonians. And it was just amazing. During the night, all the creatures were outside hunting and going around looking for food. It was so good, so good. I'm just happy.
So after you left university, what did you do? How did you apply what you'd been studying?
Well, the very first months were actually dedicated to the Navy. Then the whole thing got canceled, and so I just went back and did another season in a diving center at that point because I really wanted to dive. You know, you got all the stress from the thesis and this sort of selections. I just wanted to dive and dive and dive. So I went and did my last season in a diving center, at which we were collaborating for a whale watching project as well, which was the highlight of the season for me. Yeah, because we were outside with the boat at least once a week for this kind of activity, and we sometimes during the same day we were seeing whales and dolphins, turtles, sharks, moonfish. So many things, so many.
Whereabouts was this, Beatrice?
In
What sort of whales were they?
Oh, fin whales and uh, oh, I'm missing the English name now. Uh, like Moby Dick.
Big ones.
The big ones. I'm sorry. It's not nice
Sperm
for my
whales
marine
or
sperm whales. Thank
yeah.
you. That's that. The marine biologist in me is sorry for that. I just couldn't remember the English name for a second.
I
So the
read
sperm
Moby
whales.
Dick.
Thank you. And we saw a lot of them. We saw them jumping outside of the water. We saw them with calves, and we even we were collecting samples at some point. So we were actually waiting for them to produce.
Yeah.
So, and it was all orange and smelly because, of course, it smells like that fish. But it's one of those situations where you're just so happy to be covered in these things because you were finally able to get it.
I'm sorry. Ah.
You know, it's strange, but most of the times we were just like say observing behaviors and taking times of their dives and the sort of actions that were going on between them.
What are there set? This is in the Mediterranean.
Yeah.
And are there set times of the year when they migrate or?
Well, there are different times. During the summer, we found out that during July had been a particularly good month that year. But they usually start quite early in the summer and do this activity for the whole summer until August, September. And of course, it's not like going to an aquarium. So there may be a day where you go out and you just spot some dolphins or nothing at all
Yeah.
sometimes. But it's quite rare. Honestly, there was always the chance to spot some of them
Yeah.
because the area is particularly rich, and so they tend to stay there to get food. It's
And
this.
what, so you were still doing sort of, for want of a better term, open circuit diving. Had you gone through and become an instructor at this stage, or?
Yeah, I was already an instructor at this point. I was an instructor on open circuit before university, before the master degrees.
Right.
Then after this, I kept gaining experience. I kept teaching for the whole winter and summer. And after that, I took a couple of years that I dedicated basically only to myself. So, and that was when I started with technical diving. So I just decided to focus on me. And I did a few classes here and there, but most of the time it was for me.
And what persuaded you to take up technical diving? Was it just to further your marine biology studies, or?
Honestly, not completely. The thing for
Yeah.
me was not being allowed to go to a certain depth because of safety reason, because
Yeah.
of training, which was good. But I wanted to go there. I wanted to see what was there. So for me, it was just a natural evolution of the training. And at that point, I met Gabriele, who had been my first. He's a Navy diver, and he had been my first technical instructors. And he taught me so much about the history of the diving equipment and everything because he's so passionate about it. And so I started reading a lot of stuff here and there, more than what I was doing before. And at that point, it was, oh my, I can go underwater even with this or this or this or this. I want to try them all, basically. And it's a never-ending story. I'm just curious about trying different techniques and
Yeah.
equipment, and in the end, just opt for the right one for what I have to do and what the conditions are.
So when you started technical diving, this was still using sort of open circuit.
Yeah, yes.
When did you switch to closed circuit?
I switched to closed circuit the last year of uh, da, 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 it was the last year of university actually. So a
Oh,
little bit
right.
before, yeah, because
Yeah.
I mixed up things a little bit, but it's true, it was the last year. So a few things happened in the meanwhile, and after that, I was really scared at the very beginning, because for me it was I got these things on my back that I don't know how to control, and it's taking control of my diving, and so it was a really wrong idea, but I didn't know better at the time. So when Gabriele actually told me how things were working,
Right.
then I got interested. It was, yeah, I want to try it.
Yeah. What units were you using? What was your first unit? Can you remember?
Yeah, I started with an inspiration,
Right.
and the very beginning was uh, not really the best, to be honest, because of we had some problem with the size of everything. Everything was a little bit too big for me, and we were trying it in really shallow water, so it took a while to fix the correct weight and everything else. So I was balancing the amount of gas in the loop with the buoyancy, and so my briefing pattern was not the very best during my first try, but it was just I think just that time, because after a while you just understand how to use it, how to breathe in it,
Yeah.
and after that it was all almost love at first use, almost.
Perhaps second. Love at
Perhaps second,
second.
yeah, because you're so used to have everything under control with open circuit, then you switch to the
Yeah.
C.C.R, and you got this very beginning phase where you don't understand sometimes why things are changing the way they are.
Yeah.
And so you need to start again. But it's with everything we've experienced now. If I just try a new unit, it takes a few minutes just to understand how it's actually reacting. Of course, it takes a lot longer to get comfortable with the unit and
Yeah.
everything, but now you got the former knowledge that helps you a lot.
Yeah.
And for me at that time, it just took a few longer to love the unit the way I do now. But
Well, it's relearning how to dive, isn't it?
yes, yes. I think it's like I say to people, because here we are surrounded by mountains, so a lot of people practice skiing and snowboarding. And I say, if you do ski and you want to learn to use the snowboard, you need to start over. But your knowledge of how the snow reacts, how to spot a glacier area, how to approach the different kind of slopes and everything, that will help you to improve faster, even
Yeah.
if you're starting from the very beginning. But you just need to sit down and avoiding the black ones for a while. You just go on the beginners ones, and with diving is the same. You just
Yeah.
to take it slowly and start with easy dives, get comfortable with the unit, get experience, and experience small issues and small problems.
And what you mentioned earlier about sort of joining the Navy. What happened? You decided to join the Navy. Good choice, I might casually warble, but
Well, it has always been something on my mind. And that year they opened a few positions for my kind of degree. So
right.
this is the perfect chance because I can get in. And of course, there was a few steps that I had to follow after, but I could get and bring my application for the Navy, for the divers unit. So it would have taken a few years, but I went and spoke with a few um, of the commanders and who was in charge with the different units, trying to understand if it was possible because there were no girls
Yeah.
at that point in the unit. So is this something I can start doing, or it's a waste of time? Just to know in advance, And they were all really supportive, honestly. They said, yes, just go with it. And so I did it. And there were like 35 places, and we were more than 700 at that point with the applications.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Wow.
But it was nice. So I was studying, I was training, I was taking all my medical exam to be sure to be
Yeah.
fit for the final selection. And I went through all of them. And in the end, I was in, and I was just waiting for the final confirmation, and the whole thing was canceled.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
Do they presumably now they have women in the diving branch there?
I know there's one. I know there's one now. Yes,
Just one.
just one.
Wow.
But it's one of those topics I love talking about it. Still,
Yeah.
I don't know in the end if it was a good or bad thing for me. I would have loved to do it. On the other side, the thing of being more, let's say, more free with my time allowed
Yes.
me to do so many amazing experiences that I'm not sure I would have been able to
Yeah.
otherwise. So
What,
let's look at the bright side.
And I guess on the plus side, you've co-authored a book as well, didn't you? About
Yeah, that actually the book, it was an idea that came up to me and my friend Francesca. We were living together and studying together at the university, and we were both working in two different diving centers in Italy at the time. And so during the summer, we were waking up at 5:30 in the morning, and we were just having our morning call for the day. And just while filling tanks and setting up everything, checking the plan for the day. And we started doing all this kind of briefing to the dives, to the people, explaining them what they were going to see. So after that, we started doing some presentations, and people was loving it. So we say, why don't we write down what we're actually teaching, just to make some sort of small manual for people that want to approach it. So not at a university level, because it will get boring, but something, well, boring for me not, but for many people maybe yes. And so something that it's just more approachable. And so we sat down and just decided the the context of the book, and just we just wrote it down while doing our master thesis, which was a lot of work, really a lot of work. But we wrote down the text. We a lot of the pictures are from friends of us or from ourselves. I did all the drawings, and a friend of us just transformed them in a digital version. And we did all the icons of the book. It was a really nice experience overall. And we presented it in 2013 in the end.
And it's still being sold, still in print.
It's still here. It's still
Give it
here.
a plug. On biodiving in the Mediterranean.
Yeah. It's
and
still
people
available.
can buy that through Amazon, or
yes, they do.
Yeah.
Actually, now we had been discussing about it, because I had a lot of people wondering if we were ever going to do an English version of it, which is a huge work. So we're considering it anyway, and it would be almost time to update it, because it's been 8-9 years now. So we will see what will happen with this book. We've been discussing a little bit.
You'd be, I guess you'll be finding sort of, I'll start that again, Beatrice.
Yeah.
because thanks to using your rebreather depth, you're not as limited to depth as you once were. So presumably you'll be finding different types of creatures as well.
Yes, more than that, I think it's amazing how the environment change. So you see this slow change. If you observe, you can see that as long the deeper you go, the more the environment is changing because of the light change, of the temperature change, and everything, and also the kind of creature. So it's the whole place around you that it's slowly transforming. And that for me is just amazing. And when you got your diving lights and you just let these colors come out again with the true colors that you're now able to see, instead of this gloom, blue and black area, it's just mesmerizing.
And what because you were doing a lot of wreck diving then, and wrecks have particular appeal to you, or is it because of the creatures that you can find on the wrecks?
I would say creatures are, in this case, creatures are not the first reason. About the wrecks is mainly the story, the history and the story of the wreck that is appealing to me, because it's nice to understand what happened, and also being able to visit it with the right amount of respect, we often say, because more often than not, there are places where a tragedy took place. So it's approaching it the correct way. And if you know the story, the details, and you can also appreciate it more and notice details that otherwise you would have never noticed. On the other side, it's also great how the nature can bring it back to life somehow. So it's now changing the purpose of that wreck, and now it's a home for so many creatures, and it's just another sign of how the nature can.
Where You've dived in a lot of places around the world, and a lot of the classic sort of wreck sites. Um, where's your favourite? You've dived Scarpa Flow, haven't you? Scotland and
I
the
did several
Mediterranean.
times. Several times. Scapa Flow is still. I mean, there are a lot of places on my wish list, as
Yeah,
every diver, I think. But Scapa Flow is one of those places that it has a special place in my heart because it's the whole thing. It's not just the wrecks, but the whole thing, the story of the islands and the way that all their tradition are connected to the historical events that took place over there. And so when you go there and we dive these wrecks in the morning, we usually gave presentation the evening before about each one, or also the biological side of the creatures that we're going to see during those dives. And then you can meet the seals while diving over there, which for me are absolutely the cherry on the cake, on the top, because they are so funny. They are so funny. And then you go back in this small town that is Stromness, that is so beautiful with its characteristic, and you can then go to archaeological site, to historical museum, to
yeah,
the local library, and just learn so much about the history of the place, and still seeing so many signs of the two wars that took place and
yeah.
what happened. And again, it's then you got this amazing landscape with these colors, and you got the distilleries also, which are really good thing to add to the trip. And so yeah, it's the whole thing. The whole day is just turning around diving and everything that is connected to it,
Yeah.
which makes it
I,
really great.
I would have thought, being in the Mediterranean, all of the wrecks that there are there and in warmer water, I might casually warble.
You thought that would have been my favorite.
Yes, yes, yeah. I did actually.
I do like warm water. I do, really.
Yeah.
But I don't know why, more often than not, I end up diving in cold water. And it's not like I actually decided, it just happens. And
Right.
but the cold waters can give you so much. And you just need to be ready for that.
Yeah. What about caves? Because you took up cave diving as well. How did that happen, and where and when?
Oh, it did. I mean, the interested in caves was
Yeah.
something that built gradually. Always reading about books and different kind of stories. Shaq Exley's book or Jill's book, and then I was watching documentaries and I was seeing this amazing footage of different caves and cenotes. So you cannot not be hooked by this. I mean. And as always, I'm just curious. I want to see what's on the other side. It
Right.
doesn't matter if it's another rock, as someone says. I don't care. I just want to go and see it. And so at some point while diving, I just decided that I wanted to gain more experience before starting it. And Jill is always being one of my favorite, let's call it heroes to follow. And so at some point I started to save my money, and Nadir literally told me, why don't you just ask her? And so that's what we did. And I planned my class with her, and I enjoyed every minute of it. We had a few issues. We were talking about it last time, but I loved that. And after that, I just wanted to try different caves in different kind of environments. So warm
Right.
caves, cold water caves, with flow, without flow. Just as we often say,
And
just try.
whereabouts was this? So you started off in Florida?
Yes,
Yeah.
actually, yes. I started in Florida, and then I did some here in Italy. Then went to Delot in France for
Right.
some cold water caves, and after that I was back in Italy, and then we planned to go to the Bahamas. because I saw the footage from Brian, and
Brian, yeah.
it was that was love at first sight.
Yeah.
So for my 30th birthday, that was the plan.
And that was so you were diving with Nadir a lot, and I actually thought, God, it would be good to get Nadir on at the same time as well.
But he's pretending to be working right now, so
Right.
but we can invite him on another time.
Yeah, yeah. But I was reading that other wonderful book, Stratus's book,
Yes.
Close Calls. And the title says it all, really. Would you like to tell us about your close call?
Yeah, sure. Actually, when Cass asked me, I was a little bit undecided. Like, I don't know if this is the story you're actually looking for, or if you're looking for something more, let's define it with a higher level of adrenaline into it. But it was nice because, of course, it said, I'm not the one who has the right to decide what is a close call for someone and what is not.
Yeah.
And I honestly love that kind of approach because it's true. I mean, depending on the level of experience and everything, close calls could have a different definitions. So I mean, I was happy because the one I talk about was something unexpected, but I was able to cope with it because of training and because of the psychological reaction, which I think is uh, the most important trigger in this kind of situation, because sometimes you may have all the skills required to cope with the situation, but if your mind is not in the right place, you're not going to cope with that.
Yeah.
Or it could be something you've never experienced before, but still, because of your state of mind, you're able to do something to react. So it's really different for each one. And I'm lucky enough to say that until now, and I'm crossing fingers, I never had a close call where luck was the factor that brought me out. So up to now, all the issues I had, I was able to cope with them with training, which was great. And in this case, it was we just set up for a dive, and in Florida, I had this older unit that I use when I'm there. That is still working perfectly, but it's an old unit, so issues may arise sometimes. And so we had been diving for a week at that point in some part of the caves that we had not seen yet. So we were just progressing slowly, a little bit longer every day, and just exchanging our roles to keep practicing who was laying the line, who was following, and this sort of stuff. And the day it was, of course, the day we were going to do the longest dive of the week. So we went, and there is always a strong current in there. So when you swim in, it takes a lot of effort, but you get used to it, and with the right techniques, you're able to save a lot of energy. But it happens anyway. So after leaving the main tunnel, the currents start to slow down, and you have the time to catch your breath a little. And so we just kept going at that point. We were laying different spools and doing different jumps going inside the cave. And what I failed to notice, because I was so focused on the path that we were following. This is the right place to put the jump is put down correctly. So we were focusing on the safety aspects, but we were not changing the depth that much. And still, I failed to notice that I was adding diluent manually in my loop to allow me to breathe more comfortably. And I was just doing it like an instinctive thing.
Yeah.
And I failed to notice that. And after a while, we reached a point where visibility was very low, and we already had different jumps put down, and it had been, I think at that point, more than an hour or something like that. And we decided to turn back. So we did it, and while passing under a boulder, so you're paying attention not to silt up everything, not to get caught, I started to feel water in my mouth, and that was not a good sign. And after that, everything happened really, really quickly. So basically, my loop flooded completely, and I emptied it the first time, went back in the loop, was dry. Okay, the unit was giving fine readings, so anything looked fine, and I was feeling quite good. So I just went back into the loop, and then it floated again, but this time much faster. And as soon as I took it away from my mouth, I let it go, and instead of floating, it just sank. It was completely flooded. The whole unit was unusable at that time. The readings were not good anymore. And I just went on the bailout, and my CO2 was probably quite high at that point because I didn't have a CO2 sensor on this one. And so my breathing rate was high and everything. And we just, the bailout plan kicked in place. So Nadir was my buddy at that point, and he was close to make sure that everything was fine. And in the end, we started swimming back, but my digger was getting through the roof, and I was going through my bailout quite quickly compared to my normal breathing rate. So we were safe with the amount of gas that we had and everything. I switched several bailouts, and we had the oxygen at the very beginning of the cave. So everything was fine in the end, but I came out with a huge, huge headache. And I had to look at my breathing rate. And I even changed my bailout plans a little bit about that, because we all know that your breathing rates are going to be higher at that point in emergency situations. But I thought I would have been able to bring it back much faster than it actually took, probably because of CO2 and other things. But it was interesting. The thing is that for me, when you're inside the cave, and so you start thinking, okay, I'm on the bailout now, so I'm on my emergency plan. I cannot make any more mistakes. I should not make any more mistakes. So it's the psychological aspect that still that you need to keep under control until the very end. Even if your bailout plan works fine, even if you're trained for that, this is not a simulation. It's real. So I think that's what makes the difference.
And I guess sort of having Nadir along as well would have been sort of quite comforting anyway.
It did.
It
did, because he didn't do anything, but the fact that you have someone there and someone you trust, and that maybe at that point he couldn't know what was happening in details, but he knew that something was not good, and that if I was not going back on the unit, it was probably because I couldn't. So we of course we discussed a little, but not before getting away from there, because we were at the deepest point of our dive. We just wanted to go towards shallower level before taking time to discuss.
Now, God, the time is rapidly getting away, and I haven't even. Tell me about zero. You joined Zero Emission. What is Zero Emission?
Zero Emission is actually the name of the school that Nadir started many years ago, and when I started to train with him, we started to collaborate at some point. So it's what we use to move forward with teaching, educating, and also organizing trip and delivering educational speeches. Everything that we can do that is diving related, we make it go through Zero Emissions. And I think that the name, of course, comes from his passion for CCRs. So he, even at the time when he was building his own, this was his main interest. And even now it's I mean, diving is the main thing, but using CCR in different situations and with different types of CCR as well, it's what just bring the
What sort of,
sparks in our eyes.
because I was fascinated by the sort of the roles that you had. You're doing dams and harbor chains and
Yeah,
buoys, hydraulic pumps, small boat salvage. This is sort of
it's
all,
unusual.
yeah, it's sort of bordering on commercial diving, isn't it?
It
Occupational.
does. It
Yeah.
does because when I, I, I was usually a sea diver, so I've always been diving in the sea, and until I met Gabriele and Nadir, because with them I started diving in lakes as well, but not so often with Gabriele. With Nadir, he works on the lake, he lives on the lake, so we started to use that for a lot of our training. And my first experience in the lake were quite shocking because of the temperature and everything. But that allowed me to grow so much as a diver. I started thinking more about the kind of equipment as well, the thermal
Right.
protection, trying different things, and started to be more comfortable with more stuff on me as well, with thicker gloves, a thicker wetsuit or undergarments, and low visibility, cold water, this dark environment, everything that may have, again, a psychological impact as well. And I started to grow so much. And at that point, there were he was working with these kind of things, so buoys and chains and everything, and they were missing a diver for some of this work. So I had been helping him in some of
Yeah.
these, so the easier one at the very beginning. And for the dam, they were missing one diver. They asked him, and he couldn't go, and said, "Well, I may have the person for you," and he sent me. And that was an amazing experience as well, because we were at 2,500 meters of altitude in the between the Swiss mountains at this lake. Temperature, the lake was covered with ice and snow and anything, so it was a pretty amazing experience. We were waking up at 5 in the morning, just dressing like mountaineers, having a huge breakfast, and then walking through this for 40 minutes more or less in these sort of tunnels like mines, then getting a sort of lift, then climbing up some hundred steps until the very top of the dam. And then outside the dam, we were taking this sort of elevator to get down to the bottom. And then we could start working for the whole day on a small
Oh, wow.
platform. Yeah.
And what sort of temperature?
It was 0 and below.
Yeah. Now, talking about lakes, this is the wonderful story that you wrote for Simon and myself with the Dining with Divers book and your
Yes,
memorable dive. And all that I will say as an introduction is it took place in a lake, didn't it?
it did. It did. And
Please tell the story.
well, the story is pretty interesting. I think now we can talk about it, but um, basically it was during a survey for a work. And you get, it's winter, you get ready to get in the water and everything, and even if the survey just takes a few minutes, once you are underwater, you're just like, can I have a swim around? I'm here, just let me have a look around since I'm underwater. And I did. And suddenly we were in this lake where the bottom was really um, like, it was sandy and with slow slopes.
Yeah.
And I just saw this black thing on the bottom, a little far away from me, and swam towards it, and it was a pelican case. And I said, "Whoa, my lucky day! I found something." So I tried to lift it up, and I couldn't. It was really, really heavy. So I thought, oh, a lot of weights inside there, maybe some lead, whatever. I'll keep it for my weight belt. So I tried to bring it back, just dragging it on the bottom, basically. And while doing this, I bumped into another one that was covered by the sand, and it was a second pelican case. And something was really weird at that point. So anyway, I had an SMB, so just took it out and tried to make them a little bit lighter, and slowly brought them towards the chain where the boat was at, and used the chain to bring everything up. And so I gave the first one to Nadir, who was on the boat, and then went down and took the second one. And the surprise was that it was not lead inside, but something else that was that actually looked like gold lingots. So
You discovered a treasure of gold.
yeah, that happened. And you could imagine, I mean, our minds and hearts were just over the roof. We didn't even know what to think. And it was a pretty exciting moment, once in a lifetime, I thought. And the sad thing of that is that we finally found out that they were fake. So that's the downside of the story.
What?
But it was an amazing adventure. That's true.
What? Why were they there? Did you ever find out why they were there? What were they part of a film sort of set?
No, we don't know. Something was certainly going on. We just gave them to the police, and the rest is mystery. But I was so sad.
Oh dear.
Yeah,
So,
I don't know if I've already used my once in a lifetime ticket to find something or not, but.
And so this was in Italy, one of the lakes in Italy.
Yeah, one of the lakes around here.
Right. Sorry, and I forgot where is here?
Here, I'm in the north. So right now I'm speaking from Turin.
Oh.
From Torino, which is surrounded by mountains, but not by so many lakes, which is sad.
One of the things I neglected to ask, but you also take a lot of photographs, don't you?
Actually, no, I do not. I love photographs, but I do not take it. But I do draw a lot.
Right.
It's one of the things that I'm missing. Because I admire photographers. I admire Becky. I admire Jill, and Silvano, who is the one in our team that is a really good photographer.
Yeah.
But I think I'm just interested in so many things that I don't have the, let's say, the patience to sit down and take photography properly. So I just bring my GoPro with me, and more often than not, I even forget to use it. I'm bad from that point of view, really bad.
And you were given a grant by the Women Divers Hall of Fame. What was that for? Yeah,
actually, I did this year. It happened this year,
right?
A few months ago. I applied for the medical grant, and I was lucky and now honored to be given that one. So it's this part of the formation, of an instructor that I still think should be covered a lot more than what we actually do. And because we dive in lakes and caves, and sometimes in places where the emergency rescuers cannot just arrive in a blink of an eye, I think we should be able to at least cope with the main things in the immediate. So just trying to make the situation easier to handle for when you're able to be reached or to reach the rescuers.
Yeah.
And so this is another topic I'm so happy to be able to delving in a little bit.
Yes. Yeah.
And so that will happen. I'm so happy about it.
Yeah.
It's something I'm really looking forward to now. Just need to understand how we will make it work out with COVID. But
how is travel affecting you, by the way?
A lot. I mean, the travels of the last 2 years had been completely cancelled. Yeah. So it's changing, and but we still have them in plans. We're just waiting for the right time when we will be able to travel a little bit easier. And but the nice thing is that I realized this morning that it's been 1.5 years that we've been organizing webinars and interviews on so many different topics. And I really wanted to sit down one of these days and trying to make the count of how many hours we've spent this year just talking internationally with
Yes.
other peoples from all around the world.
Yeah.
And we're not traveling, but still we're keeping in contact.
Well,
That's nice.
hopefully we will be able to travel again soon, because there's several towers of beer waiting waiting at
Absolutely.
ADEX.
Yes. Oh, well, I'm
And
missing ADEX so much.
yeah,
It has always been a wonderful time every year.
it has been fun, hasn't it?
Yes.
Well, I think we've come to the end of our session, and Nora is telling me that we have come to the end of our session. So, Beatrice, thank you so much. It really is lovely to be able to chat with you again. And we've only sort of covered a few little sort of areas, but thank you once again. And Nora. Oh, there's Nora.
We got you, Nora.
Yes, I'm back. So once again, thank you so much, Beatrice.
Thanks to
And
you guys.
for waking up this early. I know it's not that early over your end, but thank you so much for your time. And also David for moderating the session. And we look forward to seeing each other once again, hopefully sometime really soon next year. I don't know. But yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Yes.
And Nora, so next week, Alex Santos will be coming in.
Okay. So everyone, ADEX community, next week, Alex Santos, please save the date. And if you happen to miss this session halfway or something when you're traveling or whatsoever, just revisit the website and have a look at the link on Facebook itself. Herewith, I would like to thank you everyone once again, and look forward to see you in the next session of In Conversation with David Strait.
Nora, thank you. Beatrice, thank you. And I'll send through the links for that chat with Bernie as well.
Absolutely, yes. So
Okay.
Thank you guys for everything. And Alex, good luck for next week.
See you later, Beatrice. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.